Hello everyone and welcome to today's session on ERP solution. So today we are going to be looking at how to create database within the Sage Evolution 200. So before you can be able to use your evolution, it means you must have two databases existing. So one is actually for system. One is called system database and why the other is called a company database. So why the system database handle the aspect of your licensing and some kind of security around the licensing, then also report design. The company database actually handles everything relating to your modules, your features, and any setup you wish to do within that particular company. So let's see how to create a new database. In my previous video, I explained to you how to navigate around Sage Evolution 200, how to log into it. So we did that, but this time around, we are going to be looking at how to create a new database within the Sage 200 Evolution. So just double click on the icon. So this icon might come with different names, and this at point of setting up your Sage Evolution, it might require you to drop a shortcut. Otherwise, you might just go to the program file where it is installed, then create a shortcut onto the desktop so you can have the icon accessible easily. You can as well search for your Sage Evolution from this search bar here, then it gives you the icon to the program. So this is the login page. Normally we are supposed to just enter our details and that's all, but this time around, in my previous video, I said so much about logging into the Sage Evolution. So and I explained all this in that video. You might want to watch the video so that you can get the details of what I'm talking about. So let's dive into the solution now. So I'll click on new, which is this button here. I click the new button for me to create a solution. So this is Nigeria, so I'm going to be using others. Now you must have an SQL installed. You must know where you want the database to reside before you get into this. So if you want more knowledge about the SQL server, yeah, you might check my videos if you are going to get any of it, or you can watch online on how to do that. So but I'm going to pick an existing database SQL server name from here. So let me use this. I'm using this. So I'm going to use the authentication. So the authentication is more like you have provided a password while installing, or you have provided some credentials while installing your SQL on that particular server, and so it is asking you for those credentials that you have provided. And it could also have an option whereby you have decided that, oh, you don't want to use the SQL authentication. Maybe it is driven by the Windows authentication, that is the login, the domain of that particular environment. So if you have done some setup on that level, but we are going to just strictly use the SQL authentication here. So I'll use SA, which is the then I think I don't have a password given there. So now you have to decide a database name. For this purpose, let's use training. You have to give a database name for this purpose. Then so by default, what comes around on this is um, when you create it, an admin's password is going to be generated for you. So because before you log into the application, you need an administrator's password. You need an agent called admin. So that's what it's asking, that what name do you want to give the agent. By default, you are going to have admin here. You can see default administrator username and password is admin. Case sensitive when it comes to the password. So let me assume, let me just show you this. So this is it. Otherwise, you might want to give your own password. Well, for this training purpose, I'm not going to be changing anything. So I click on next. So yeah, now you're going to have what's it called? The system is telling you that you should use a common database on this server. So like I told you earlier, I said when you are creating a database for solution for Sage 200 evolution, there are two databases that are needed. So one is actually um, the company database, while the other one is the system database. So the system database is as well called the common database. So the first credentials or first information we gave was actually that of the company database. So now we are going to the uh, what's it called? The system database. So the system database, if you don't have anything, you can just untick this and drop down. Sorry, if you don't have anything, you can just tick this and just click on next so that it uses whatever that is on that particular step. But if you want to create another database, you can just untick this. Then you need to reside, you need to specify where you want that database to also reside. So the SQL server name, you want that database to reside. So Sage by default, Sage calls their Sage 200 evolution calls their system database name as Sage Common. You can rename it to whatever thing you wish. You can rename it to whatever, but you need to understand, you need to be aware of the name you are going to use, because why? This is where your licensing goes in. So I'm going to explain two forms of license to you. I'm going to explain two forms of license. No, three options of licensing. Yeah, you're going to have three options of license. But before that, let me just so that we can just create a common data. We can just create the database name. So I'm going to say you should use the existing system database, which is the common database. You should use the existing one, or let me just specify the one I want so that I I don't, maybe I have so many database that, so I can just click this. Then as well, I'll still come back to explain um, this to you. So let's do this. So I click on, so what we are doing now is to create a company database. So a company database, we're trying to create a company database. Now this solution has another feature or another mode we call branch accounting, where you could have each branches have their own database, so everybody can work seamlessly, and you specify when you want this database to synchronize to each other. So there will be, this is more like every branch or every of your company working independently, so no internet connection at that point. There is no need for you to have the head office or a main database. So at each location of your organization, they have a database. So the reason why you might want to have that kind of processes is because you want each branch to be able to generate their own financial reports on their own. You want to know the performance of each of those particular locations. You can as well do that, and at the end, but you don't want it to be dependent on maybe the head office or other. So you can have those things at the end of the day. synchronized together so that you can get a consolidated financial report. But so if you are not using a branch accounting module, or if you are not using that structure, so yeah, the system just says that you should create a database, just one database, which is for head office. So for this purpose, I'm just going to be using head office. So when we are using head office, it means that all transactions goes into head office alone. So everybody logs into the head office and they perform their transaction. So that process of head office and branch is a different structure entirely if you want that kind of process. So if you want me to explain that as well or give you the process, you can leave a comment. Let me know about. So, but for this purpose, for our training purpose, for um, getting understanding on how to create a default company database. So you just click on, make sure this is selected, not this is selected, then you click on next. So you now need to give information about the company. So you can give different information, which is your company name. So I can call this let me call this let me call this let me call this, then I can give physical address and all that, then I click on next. So now at this point, the system requests that you should choose a closing date for your current financial year. So you need to specify a closing date for your current financial year. So let's assume you are creating the common database so that you can start your operations or your financial activity from a particular point. Let's say as at this year, this is 2023, yeah, and this is the ending of the year, which is 2023, December 2023. We are actually in December 2023. Then you feel that your financial year actually ends at December as well. So in that process, you can pick this. For instance, if your financial year does not end on December, let's say May 2023, you can as well pick May year as May 2023. So that is the closing date for your current financial year. So, and what will the system do? Even though you have chosen, so the system is trying to create a financial year within the application. You understand? So it will create a financial year within the application. Then it's now requesting that closing date is applicable to a year. So which year? How many year? Let me say, if you wish to post backdated transaction, you should choose year 2 or greater so that a previous year's periods are available. So let's look at a situation whereby this is December 2023 and this is also your financial year. So you have your financial year in there, but you still want to post some backdated, you want some backdated transactions. You are not making this as your take-home periods. You just maybe want to take balances for this. No, don't let me use the word balances. You just want to start your transaction going forward from this particular period. But for previous year, you still want to have some kind of backdated transaction. For instance, you want the opening balance or the closing balance as at 2022 onto the system. So if you want a closing balance of what's it called, 2022 into the system, so you might want to use year 2 so that the previous year you can have your transaction posted. So the system will give you 2 years ahead, 3 years ahead, 4 years behind, rather, to give you a previous year so that if in case you have a situation like that. But what we usually suggest to clients is it's better for you to, because when it comes to inventories and things like that, it might be difficult for you to start reconciling going forward and having a kind of backdated transactions together. You understand? So it is mostly recommended that you should have a take-home period have a take on period, then your take on period, bring in all your balances like your trial balance onto the system, your um, receivable balances, your payable balances, your inventory, your asset. You are bringing that in, so you know that you are starting on a clean note. If you have a legacy system, you can always go back to your legacy system to check for to drill down those balances transaction. But going forward, just leave it on take on balances and start posting your transaction. It's easier for you to reconcile. We've seen different situations whereby it's either the client has forgotten that there are some kind of transactions, or the balance the cost that was incurred on a particular item is not correct, and at the same time, so it will definitely mess up all the processes. So it is good for us to have a clean note on that. So going forward, we do this, then I click on next. Now the system is requesting that what structure of account do you want? Like you have chart of account. The chart of account is a structure of all your list of accounts. So you are now looking at the system is asking you, do you want a standard or a segmented structure? So standard is more like you are having the main account and the sub account. So you have two levels of account, main and sub, and that's all. But if you want further drilling, you still want to elaborate on a particular ledger account, you might want to use a segment. You might want to use a segment structure. So the segment structure would have different levels, can have up to I think 10 segments. So you can have the main, you can have the main account, then maybe a branch, then a branch will now have a kind of sub again, then that sub then maybe have a kind of cost centers again on that. So you can drill down by the main account. That is, you can get your report by clicking on main alone. So it's going to accumulate all transactions for me. So if you look at, oh, I don't want main, I just want to be able to get by cost center, you can actually get by cost center. So these are all the things we actually discuss with the client. We try to engage the client so that we can understand what their need is. So it is not them telling us we need this, we need it. No, we will have to engage them with the stakeholders, with the users, so that we can actually get what, especially when it comes to management. So we have to discuss with them to get all these requirements, and that same requirement is deployed within the system. So we are picking normal tasks based on this, then I click on next. So and at the same time as well, I'm choosing the standard. So the standard comes with a default chart of account. Yes, but segment doesn't come with default chart of account. So you need to start creating all the accounts, and what we want a seamless process. So I'm going to use standard for that. Then I click on next. So at this level also, the coding of your chart of accounts, how do you want the system to code it? Do you just want it to use only characters, maybe just like the descriptions, and you don't want the coding on numerical levels or that. So, but for this purpose, we are going to choose numeric chart of account. So the system, so if you look at this now, look at this, you can see that by clicking on this, I'm having just the description. Or if I click on this, you can see it gives me a code and as well a description. So that's what that means. So I like the type of company. So now, based on industries, you can pick whatever industry your company belongs to. You could see, so by the time you pick, let's say insurance, it's just a coding that is specifically created as a default. So insurance industry. So if I do like this and pick this, it's just descriptions that will be different to whatever you're looking at here. So, and I'm sure the accountants can actually understand. So what I'm doing, let me just use general. So I would have, so I'm using general, and this is a channel account I'm getting. So I click on next. Now, another level is security to log in into the system. So the system definitely would ask you for a what's it called, an agent name and username. But situation whereby you still want a very strong security, you still want to further foster the strength of your login security, you can enable this. But if you enable this, it means that you can change it again, and so many securities around this. Okay, you can see once strict login is enabled, you will not be able to revert back to the original setting. So with this level now, you might want to have minimum password length. How the password, maybe you want the first three letters to be in what's it called, um, character, you then maybe the preference. So you can as well enable this within the system. And if you want password to always expire, you can do this, but you have to click on login security. Although you can as well click this somewhere within the application. If you're not clicking it here now, if you are not enabling this yet, you can also enable it within the system. So we are going to leave this as it is like this. We are not going to enable login security. We want a very simple process on how to do this. So I click on so confirm new database. Yeah, are you sure you want to, based on all the information you have? So you are confirming. So you are creating, by clicking on this, you are confirming that whatever information you have entered previously is correct and is intact. So, and it will confirm and create a new company database for you. So if I click on this, so the system is actually creating the database. This might take a while, so we would have to wait. So that is finished, and I can say later. The system is loading all the defaults into the tables. Okay, so this comes up again. I've explained this in my previous video, so you might want to go back to that video on getting started with Sage Evolution 200. Also, I explain the details on all this. Then I click on OK. So allow the system to load. So that is just basically on how to create Sage database, Sage company database. We've been able to create Sage company database. So at this hand, look at the different options that are available here. Look at this. So this gives you where the database resides on, which is the company database, while this is the system database. This is the company name itself, the user that is logged in, and as well the date this system is logged in into. Then what else? Or this is the current date. What else do I need here to show you? Okay, let's go to help. So let's look at about. So you can see Sage 200 evolution. So at this point, this would give you the details of the company. Now this is where you get the registration information of the license you are using. So this shows you the license. So if I decide to use to register this particular company now, or to register this evolution, I'll just click on this registration. Now if you are using a demo, okay, let's talk about the registration aspect of it. Let's talk about the registration aspect of it. So the next video will be on how to register your Sage 200 evolution. So you might want to check that video on how to do that. So thank you very much.